All right, let's start the Tuesday, January 27th Budget Advisory Group meeting being held at Town Hall today. This is being recorded, so we'll be able to play it back on DCTV. I am Chris O'Neill, the chair of this committee. Brian O'Hare, vice chair, is going to be out today. Chris Oliver will be joining us from the school committee, and I don't think anybody else is missing, are they? I think we're good. All right, so we'll start, we are in person, obviously. We're going to start with a review of the fixed cost, if Gary and Cody can go through that. As a reminder, this meeting, in my opinion, is to get us to a point where we're not going to write a thesis on school department budgets or town budgets. We're going to discuss them. We're going to bring some common sense discussion to some of these things to try and make it a little bit more palatable for the general public. I'm sure among a few of our citizens, have a hard time with Wordle in the morning, never mind getting through the school budget. So we can bring it to a level that makes sense for everybody. That would be terrific. Gentlemen.
Want to start? Yeah, you can start.
Thank you, Chris. So at the last meeting, we talked about having a list of, at least on the town side, our fixed costs. And so Cody and I went through that, and I can go through some of the numbers. The debt service totals about $2.1 million. Obviously, this is inclusive of like the library and things that are still on our books for debt service. Includes interest also, so principal and interest. Pension and retirement assessment. As you know, we're part of the Bristol County retirement system. So that's something that we pay each and every year, that we've seen that steadily increase every year. This year, I believe it's a $300,000 increase over last year's assessment.
And that's with the early pay discount. So we get a discount
Yes.
because we pay it all at once.
If we didn't, it would be almost $7 million.
Yeah. It was over
7.2 million. So we pay the whole thing in July.
All right, so
As
whatever your
opposed to-
liability is for the year, you
That's
pay
it.
it.
Yeah.
So it's a pay in full type.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, we can have a split, but we do it because we
That
save
saves
money.
us how much?
Couple 100,000.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah. I think it's like 7.1 million if we pay it, if we split it.
Okay, all right, so we're saving couple
Over
$100,000 a year
Yep.
by paying it up front.
Yeah. And the reason why some towns don't is they don't have the ability to because of
See,
cash flow
that's
issues.
that's a prime example, in my opinion. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of these things I'm not aware of, and the general public is not aware of, that you're doing already to save us some money.
Yeah, so workers' comp, we budget $355,000. Health and life insurance, we talked a little bit about this, almost $9.5 million, an increase over last year's charges of about 15% right now. That's what we're budgeting.
And just as a note, these are all the current year costs. They're
Yeah,
not-
fiscal
they're not
26.
27. These are the current year
Yeah,
costs.
fiscal '26. So Medicare payroll tax, we cannot get away from that. That's a charge of $850,000. Property and liability insurance, $1.3 million. That's averaging about a 3% increase every year that we're budgeting. Sick and vacation buyouts, this is somebody, retires or they have time on the books. We pay that out of this account. Voc Tech, $6.3 million assessment. We've seen that increase over the last few years. Not so much in fiscal '24 to '25, but even more of an increase in '26. Obviously, it's on the head count of the students that attend the school. Bristol Aggie, $210,000. Membership and dues, this is across every single department, of about $20,000. IT costs, we're seeing about a 7% increase in our main driver, which is Munis, a financial software package, and among other things that we've implemented.
And that is just our expense. So that doesn't include salaries for IT. That's just contractual IT. So a lot of
IT services.
the IT services are financial system, permitting system, the contractual expenses. No staffing. That's just the.
Veterans, we said 5.
Yeah, that sounds all right.
Yeah, about $600,000 for veterans benefits. As you know, we get some of that reimbursed back from the state. And then finally, utility costs, we've seen that across every single budget, electric and natural gas, of almost $1 million. So these are right off the top when we go to do the budget every single year, obviously, these assessments increase. These amounts increase with inflation. So this is what we're looking at for FY '26.
And this is just general fund?
Yes,
not
this is
the
just
enterprise
general funds.
Right, just general fund. All right, so on this slide, any questions, any comments, anything that we need to kind of break apart? In your opinion, Jim, anything there?
Well, really, I mean, you could add to it too, your contractual obligations. I mean, there's no staffing that's going down, you know, in terms of expense. So really, I mean, that's a cost that you're obligated to unless you reduce service. So from a level service perspective, it's pretty much a fixed cost at the base level, and then whatever increases you negotiate. But you know, I mean, from a school perspective, we have similar costs.
Legal, isn't
Yeah, legal, what do we say? Legal's
it?
about
Legal,
500,000.
let me say something.
500,000, 600,000.
Is legal a fixed cost?
Well, we can't anticipate, we can't control our litigation. When we get sued, we have to defend ourselves.
No, I understand. I just,
Yeah,
Well, it's
Yeah,
a
maybe
base.
not fixed,
but
but
you don't know
You know
exactly
it's-
what it is.
kind of
I
out
mean,
of our control, right?
know it's coming.
Right.
Yeah,
guaranteed, just not the level,
I
right?
realize it's a budget item, but I didn't think of it as
mean-
fixed per se.
And I can put this, a similar list together for the schools, but, you know, federally mandated special education costs being, you know, a large portion of what we're doing now, with our increase in special ed population is probably the biggest thing that's out of our control. But things like transportation, we have maybe a little bit of control, but a little bit of control doesn't go very far. I mean, we've cut 3 bus routes in the last 3 years, but we can't cut any more. So now that's pretty much out of our control. And obviously, our staffing is what it has to be. I mean, we've made all the cuts we can in terms of staffing of classroom teachers to try and stabilize level class size in the 20s. But anything more, and we're gonna have significant problems. So
All right,
we're
so,
80% staffed.
so Gary, let's, I want to run down this list one more
Sure.
time briefly, just to get a couple of things on the table. The debt service, 2.1, you said included principal and interest.
Yes.
Right? So that is not a principal balance, that's what our payments are for the year annually. What is our total liability right now, as far as
You know,
outstanding?
you're asking out debt.
Outstanding
notes?
debt, I don't,
Yeah. Any idea?
I don't have that in front of me.
Not a lot.
No, I don't have it in front of me, but I can get that for the group.
All right, I
And
think
I guess
that's-
if you do,
yeah.
then what is it debt of? So you said the library.
There's a couple of
Is
small
the
things on there. I
police
think it was like
department? No.
Police department. There's a couple of small things on there, like, that they took out, like
Equipment
CPA,
or- yeah.
CPA stuff, and.
Okay.
That does not include, this is only general fund, so that does not include, you know, but.
And
And they're all at very favorable interest rates, right?
Oh, yeah,
I
when
mean,
we- yeah.
really good interest rates.
Yeah, my interest is totals on the debt, and then what the sunset looks like going forward. You know,
How many more years
far-
we have, yeah.
What are we out, 5, 10, 15, 20
Yeah, we've got that
years?
on the debts, on the amortization schedule, so I don't have that in front of me. I could look it up.
All right,
quick.
so pension and retirement hit on a pretty important point there. We're saving quite a bit if we pay that payment once a year versus breaking it out. How else would you break it out? What do they do, quarterly or?
No,
by-
it's
by
only
payroll?
semi-annual or annual.
Okay, semi-annual, annual. So that's a decent amount of dough. if
Yeah, and
we
that's a
pay it
policy the
all
town's
upfront.
always had to pay it.
Yeah, and what's the trajectory of those, of that number? What do you anticipate going forward?
Well, we've seen, as I mentioned, last year, I believe the amount was about 6.5 million. So it's hard to determine. It's not something that we can really schedule out.
Yeah.
You know, we budget what we feel that's appropriate. We get that, so that's the actual assessment. I mean, we that's a bill that we get from the county.
Right.
So it's hard to determine when that comes in. There's really no lead time.
Yeah.
We budget a certain percentage in the budget every year.
Yeah, what I'm always concerned with is when you try and set up budgets, are you are you budgeting kind of blindly? Do you budget at a number that makes sense today because you can budget for it? Or are you being really realistic about what your income is and how much you have available for that particular line item? You know, I'm debt adverse personally, so I try and pay down no matter what it is, fast and furious. So I don't know what the general sense of the advisory committee is about debt and whether you're adverse to it, whether you're not. But, I mean, personally, I budget a little bit stronger when it comes to items like that and, you know, the debt service.
So a couple of things. We're allowed to do principal paydowns in addition to what is on the amortization schedules for the debt. We don't. We use the amortization schedules to pay that off. And the other point on the some of these numbers you see up here. So it's depending on the schedules for like the county, retirement, Bristol Aggie, Volk, when we get those numbers in. So we budget up to a certain point. Like right now, I'll have preliminary numbers in there for Aggie because the commissioners haven't met. So there's a lot of timing that goes on with this.
Okay.
But most of these, when it hits the budget, you will see those are the actual numbers.
Okay.
When it gets voted at town meeting.
Yep.
Because the time has just elapsed. But at some certain point in time, on some of these numbers, because we don't have that information before town meeting, we have to do our best estimate for budgeting.
We're joined by Chris Oliver from the school committee also. Hi, Chris.
Good
Oh, hey,
morning.
thanks for coming in.
Absolutely.
Early. Just after a storm.
My apologies for
we
being a
appreciate
little
it.
late.
So the Bristol County retirement is based off of an actuarial report they do every 2 years. So the most recent one was January 1, 24. That gave us FY 26 and 27 numbers. We anticipate we'll get one later this year, which will be as of January 1, 26. That'll give us FY 28 and FY 29 actual. And once that number, whatever that number is in the report, that's what we're on the hook for.
All right, so do you anticipate any surprises?
No, I think it'll continue to rise at this level. Bristol County retirement, the goal is to be funded by 2031.
Yes.
I think it's 2031. So if they don't extend that out,
Yeah.
come 2031, we'll see a significant, or 2032, we'll see a significant drop-off. It's
Okay.
getting there, and if they don't extend it out. They've extended it out multiple times, all the pensions.
Yeah, they
I
keep.
was going
they
to say,
keep-
don't they keep
Yeah,
extending?
you just keep pushing.
Because it just
out.
becomes too expensive for
Right.
municipalities.
I mean, at one point in time, it was 2027. It was gonna be fully funded.
Oh,
Wow.
Oops.
Let me see. So, Chris, basically, I'm going down this list. Anything that pops into your head that you think the public needs to know about?
Yep.
Any concerns that you have individually, or from your perspective from the school department? Please jump in anytime.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
The workers' comp, that's been pretty static, I think, that, you know, as far as the premium goes. What about the exposure to the town for a comp? Do we have any outlying exposure that we should be concerned with? As far as, you know, our own liability on losses for any of the unions, for any of the employees that we have? Or is it all covered under commercial insurance for comp?
Yeah,
Yeah, there's
I mean, I
nothing-
can't think of anything. That would be, if there were some potential exposure, that's something we would probably address in like the litigation report with the select board. But I can't think of anything that
there's
wouldn't
no
be
pending
covered.
cases.
Yeah, no,
All right,
nothing
and
pending.
how has that loss ratio been over the last few years? No surprises there on
No,
claims?
no,
All right.
we're actually pretty good. We've-
Yeah.
Have we been with the same carrier for quite a while on the comp, or,
Yes,
okay?
yes.
Do we go out to bid on that number? Or have we been out to bid?
We search around.
Yeah,
What does that mean? How
We look,
often?
I believe we annually, John.
yeah, we're actually doing it,
doing it.
now.
All right, so we've got one broker that actually looks at the comp every year, checks markets and things like that. All right, the only thing that I'll bring to that is that it's fine to have one broker look at the carriers that they have. Sometimes it's you know, not every year, but every 3 or 4 or 5 years, it's always good to go outside and get a full review from even outside brokers. I'd like to keep the premium close. I'm not sure who we have it with. If we can get a broker that is unrelated to all of us, and can keep that commission that they make on those policies local, then that's important to me. You know, the more money that we can keep local, the better. But it should be reviewed outside the single broker every couple, 2 or 3, maybe 3 or 4 years, I'd say, something like that. Health and life. What does that number look like? How, you know, obviously it's been going north.
And this covers every employee. It's not broken down schools. This is every
This is
employee.
And this is just our share.
Right.
We
Yeah.
obviously, we don't budget for the employee's share.
Right.
yeah.
And that is based, so that's a culmination of the split, the high deductible plans, everything. That's what the town is paying right now for our side of the health insurance, $9.5 million. Holy,
Primarily the health insurance. There's a little bit in there for the life insurance.
life is pretty,
It's minimal.
yeah.
Yeah, so when I budget this, I look at the trend,
Yeah.
where it's been. I look at what, like, the carrier's proposing, we meet with them, we meet with our consultant, so we try to get the best estimate in that budget line item. Obviously, we don't wanna be short, because we have to pay that bill every month. So, you know, I'm not gonna say it's been to the penny, but we've been pretty, lucky that we haven't overdrawn in this account through the fiscal year.
A couple of things there. So same thing applies. Health insurance is the same deal with, as the comp and everything else. You know, are we looking outside, have we had the same broker on those policies for
Well,
a period of time? Or
Yeah, so we're part of Maya,
Yeah,
and
Yeah,
That's what our health
We've been part of
group is
Maya
looking
since
at.
2000 and, oh boy, 16, I believe.
Sounds right.
Yeah, 2016.
Yeah.
Maya covers about 200 communities, 100 and some communities right now. As you know, we have the health insurance steering committee. We're looking at other alternatives. I can't speak on, you know, what's going on with that at the moment, but, you know, we have some favorable discussions with some other groups.
Okay.
Maya's announced their rate at the
MMA conference.
MMA conference recently. So, you know, that's still in flux, so,
Up to,
was
up
it as
to,
bad as they thought?
up to 14.4%.
Yeah.
So, you know, it could be it could be lower, but the high end is 14.4%.
Worst case, probably.
So we're looking to, we don't know our exact rate yet. We'll
Yeah.
get that, hopefully next.
And how are our losses in that group? How have they been traditionally? Any idea? I mean, we'll get into it with the insurance committee, but.
well, we have stop loss insurance, so that if it ever reaches a point where that we have a huge claim.
Yeah.
For instance, in one of the groups that I was in, we had an individual had a heart transplant.
Yeah.
That was a huge claim, but stop loss insurance came in and bridged that gap. So we have that built in here, in case of those large claims that come in. So there's some protection, even on the regular insurance. But we haven't seen any larger, claims. You probably have heard of all the GLP-1 drugs that's coming in. That's the majority of the increase that we're seeing every single year in this. So when Blue Cross has made some announcements along with Maya that, you know, that may no longer be covered.
It will not be, as of
It will not
July
be covered
1,
anymore.
Our insurance offerings will no longer cover the GLP-1s. And that's the only reason they were able to actually keep it at the 14.4.
It's a
It would have been well over
significant-
20. if they-
Really?
yeah.
No
Yeah,
kidding.
It's the biggest piece of their business right now.
So federally, they're talking about trying to get some mandates on those, and driving costs down, right? So I would assume that's gonna move around quite a bit, and, hopefully we'll get some access to our own plans for those drugs. Okay. So more to come there. We'll see what the market looks like when we get all the data back from the other brokers and other groups.
Yeah.
The buy-ins are still high, I would assume, on the health insurance. We'll get into that.
Potentially, yeah. And that's why municipalities don't shop around that much for health insurance. Because if you go
Right.
through different JPAs, there's typically a buy-in.
Yeah.
You need, potentially, depending on what the buy-in is, it can take 5 or more years to make back that buy-in. And then that's why you don't see a lot of change.
So a great point for the public to know that, you know, well, the insurance is high, you know, yeah, we know it's high, but, you know, what do you do about it? What's the answer to that? And, you know, part of that answer is that, yes, we look at all the costs to transfer to different carriers and different groups. However, those changes, you incur certain costs. And you have to make an educated decision on whether it makes sense for you to move, depending on your loss ratios, you know, the plan design, what your enrollments look like going forward. All of that data has to be brought together to make an educated decision on the plan. So, you know, I think the public can rest assured that we're doing that. The life insurance, yes, yep.
Can you give an example of what a buy-in might cost? What's kind
Oh,
of,
$3 to $5 million potentially.
I think what triggered it for Dartmouth was that we saw the slow and steady increase to health insurance. And for us not to be prudent to at least look at other alternatives, we should be doing that. And I think just on the cost of every 2-3 years, looking at different alternatives on what's out there. And we can't just accept an increase and not look at it.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's what the general public, you know, would like us to do. Make sure that we're, you know, at least staying on it, you know. There's not much you can do about it, but you look at the alternatives. The the life insurance, yes.
So at the last town meeting, there was a group who wanted to have a warrant, that the warrant wasn't valid on talking about healthcare, and it was healthcare for all if the whole state went for it, and whether the town would back that. And my understanding was the select board was going to maybe incorporate what they were looking at or look
Medicare for
into
all.
it.
Medicare for all.
Yeah, Medicare for all. And what they were looking for was at least the town backing the idea to state government. Not that we're going to get there, but did we ever look into what the savings would be and whether it would be worthwhile to?
Well,
So we gave them all the data. They have all the data. They've gotten all the reports from, you know, from us.
That
And,
group.
Yeah, the issue, and I don't know, I don't want to call it really an issue, but that needs a lot of state and federal traction. And right now, they haven't got that. There's been bills that have been sitting in the state, in the legislature for years, and there's been no traction on it. I guess maybe because there's going to be a cost to that, right? There'll be a cost of providing that to every single person. So, you know, it needs that kind of push in order for it to even get momentum.
Okay.
They've done the research, they've gotten the information from the town on our end. Where it's gone from there, I don't know if they're still pursuing it or if,
Okay, so my understanding, and don't know the details, but that they thought it would eventually save the town money, and what they were looking for was our town, not, I mean, we obviously can't change the way the state does health insurance, but the problem is that it doesn't have broad backing, and if town by town, people could look at it and say, it would be helpful, or if it wouldn't. So I just want to know, have they gotten back to you? And did they say that there were any savings? And if there were, it's no skin off our.
we haven't seen any of the data.
You
I don't
haven't?
know that they can project the savings because
Right, would there be
the
a
state
cost
isn't
to
letting
us?
there's no healthcare for all. There isn't any information on there, like how to figure out what your,
See, there's so many
payments would
variables
be.
because we wouldn't know what the cost per person would be. We wouldn't know what the cost per town would be. We wouldn't know what those plans look like. I mean, are they plans that are like in kind to what the town offers now? Are they substantially reduced plans? There's so many different variables that I think that's probably why the legislature needed time to look at all this, and they just haven't gotten around to it. But they do have the information. We can always follow up with them to see where they are with the study.
and I had
But-
suggested that they go and speak to Maya.
Mm-hmm.
So Maya covers over 200 of the 351 municipalities. So if they talk to Maya and Maya thought that this would be a good idea, they'd get Maya's group, which would be all those towns, in support, rather than, you know, each town.
Okay,
Going
it just
to
seemed
all
like,
300.
an out-of-the-box idea. The insurance route we're going seems to be what we've always done. And yes, checks and balances are good to make sure we're getting the best price, but their idea seemed out of the box and at least worth looking
Yeah,
at.
I think, I recall our request, or the request made of us was to get as much data as we could get them at the time, which is fluctuating, you know, monthly. So, without federal and state leadership on that one issue, it's so difficult to commit. I mean, I personally, I wouldn't be able to commit to it unless I knew exactly what the plans looked like, who was backing it, whether it had federal backing. So it's a question of bottom up or top down. And the way that it looks right now is they're trying to get the groundswell from the bottom up to make that change, and it's just a hell of a lot harder to get that done versus somebody getting out of the way, making the decision, and then passing it down through the states. So, I mean, we'll definitely keep an eye on it, because if, you know, those numbers are even close to what the savings would be, then I think we'd all be on board at some point. Just to move on, the life insurance, the group life insurance, this came up a couple of times with hiring, I think. Does everybody have access to at least the minimum life insurance? Town, all town employees?
Yeah.
All right, okay, all
They
right,
can opt to buy a little bit more if they decided to do that.
all right, so there is a group policy in place for everybody?
Yes.
All right,
Right at their hiring.
yes.
And then in that 9.5 number, 700,000 of that is OPEB. We put into other post-employment benefits.
Yeah.
It's primarily health insurance for retirees.
Yeah.
So we're funded at 4%, 3% of our liability.
We made a change to that recently, I think, right? With the company, did we change companies?
No, I don't think so. The money just goes into trust, essentially. We set up a
Right, yeah.
trust for our unfunded liability, which is, I think, north of $60 million.
Yeah. And we continue to look at that, because as the actuarials come in.
Yeah.
From every 2 years, we may need to adjust that amount.
Yeah. The property and liability insurance is the same thing, in my opinion. You know, we have current brokerage look at it, go back out to market, especially if the losses are good. We're on the coast, so the town has the same issues that every homeowner has in this town, where, you know, it's not about the water. They don't care about the water coming up your street. They care about the wind blowing up the street. And most of the claims from the storms are not gonna be from the water, because they don't cover those anyway. They wanna cover the wind, and they do cover the wind. So, we asked, you know, I'm sure that we're looking at current brokerage for some comps on that, and then go outside probably every third or fourth year, you know, and get a better holistic snapshot of exactly what we're paying. That number, I think, has been pretty static, pretty close.
It's about 3% increase every single year.
All right, so not too bad, but again, we're at 3 points a year on $1.3 million, so it's a decent chunk, so.
And that one there covers all town
buildings.
buildings, and also
Vehicles?
vehicles.
Correct.
Cyber, that wasn't a big one.
Cyber also, yeah, we
just,
increased that.
increased.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like another 20,000 into the cost.
I mean, I'm just going down this list as you are. If you have anything, jump in, but the assessments for Volk, there's really not much we can do about that, right? It's pretty,
That's, yeah, no, that's a state
Just a
formula.
bill.
Yeah.
so it's a state formula. We get the bill, we have to pay the bill. There's no negotiating that number. What has that number done to the cost of education in the town over the last 3 to 4 years? Has it increased quite a bit? Has it
I believe
stayed
in
static?
FY '25, it was 6.1 million.
So 23 was 5.85, 24 was 6 million, 25 was 6.1, and 6.3 and 26.
All right,
So steadily
Depending on
increasing.
headcount, obviously.
So a steady increase in that cost. You know, if you put that together under education, then it increases that number. Bristol County Ag?
Chris, can I stop you right there?
Yes, go ahead.
Just out of curiosity, Volk has a new admissions policy this past year. Have we received our bill yet? I don't know how they bill the town for the FY '25-26 school year. I was just wondering how the new acceptance policy, if it I know it's going to factor in one way or the other for Dartmouth students. So I was just curious if our freshman class dipped or if it increased.
Yeah, I don't think we have.
I'll look and see if I found it, but.
Are you thinking it may, the new format might?
Yeah, so essentially, in cooperation with the Department of Education, that it sounds like there's a lot less barriers for students to apply and be accepted to Voc, which in my opinion, and I could be wrong, would actually decrease our enrollment for Dartmouth
What the account
students.
called?
Right, they can no longer count attendance as they used to.
Correct.
Attendance
We can
and,
look into that.
I was just curious. I was just
I don't know, I
curious.
don't know if
Yeah.
Jim, Jim, does the bill come through you?
No,
Or it goes right to the town?
Is this
Oh,
the
so you
first
have
year,
no
Chris, that it's been?
This is I believe this was the first year, this past year.
Okay.
It did, if I recall, the enrollment
I
with the
think for our
meeting,
vote
it
meeting.
remained it was steady comparatively this year to the previous years when we were there for that, the Dartmouth Day.
Okay.
It wasn't, so I wouldn't expect any drastic increases or decreases.
Decreases,
Yeah,
okay.
it's remained steady.
So that begs the question, what does the capacity look like at Volk? They have a building project going on, don't they?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Something, they're trying to work on expansion?
I believe in the next
Before-
5 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
next 4 years.
Expansion of offerings.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
So they're looking to do a capital outlay for the school, for expansion or remodel?
Expansion, I thought.
I wasn't at that day.
Yeah. I'm not sure. For me, that
They
would be.
downplayed it because it's so far in the future, but I said that we can't downplay it because
Yeah.
that
It's
falls
not that
into
far
our
in the future.
long-term capital planning. It's
Yeah.
part of us saying we'll be getting an assessment. If
Yeah.
we're not getting assessment, they can do whatever,
See,
but.
they used to come in previous years, used to have Vote come in just to discuss what their future plans are. And I think we probably should get back to that, having them come in
Yeah.
at least to the select board and to the finance committee. And, if they have these projects that are out there, they have the better idea than anyone that, potential costs, what the time frame looks like. I think that they should be invited back
I
in.
know they invite us, but we should probably have them down, because, like you said, it's, for a taxpayer, it's not that far off,
Well, and also
any
for
changes
budgeting.
that they make.
For budget,
For the
we
budget,
don't
yeah.
want to have a surprise like next year, by the way, this is the first part of a
Yeah.
25-year capital project.
Right.
Yeah, interesting. And that, this comes back to the whole question of Dartmouth One, competition, investment. You got something?
See, let me see.
Investment in education, what are we expecting out of that expansion up there if they do something? How is that gonna affect our enrollment, which is a big concern for me? So that'll be interesting. We're gonna get eyes on that.
Yeah, so this year they had 319 Dartmouth kids there. And the FY 2026 assessment they have here is 6.4.
Yeah, we knew we were gonna be off a little.
Yeah, we
This is
haven't
what
got
we
the-
budgeted.
6,401,
actual bill.
337.
You said how many students, Heidi?
319.
No, Heidi, this was the tour?
This was the tour.
Yeah.
Just happened to have it in my bag. So, yeah, so they put down grade 9 this year, they had 61 students, which is less, because grade 10, they have 83, grade 11, 78, and grade 12, 61. So I guess a blip of sophomores, but otherwise pretty consistent.
Yeah, we usually get the bill around March, April timeframe from them after the board meets. After the board meets.
All right, so we're not aware,
We get an actual bill.
so we're not aware of any surprises there.
Well, I mean, it was a little bit higher than we anticipated.
just a little bit, yeah.
120,000 higher, so.
Yeah.
From a capital perspective and a competitiveness perspective, I mean, you think about what Voc has done, is they do a great job, and they have a nice program for kids. But if you think about Dartmouth High School, which, for those of us who were on the building tour on the 15th, we took a look at that building. Voc has done multiple projects in the time since we built that building. Never mind the middle school, which is,
Yeah, and one of the things that
Really
Voc talked
tired.
about that day is they do a lot of stuff in-house, because they have everybody that's learning how to be welders and
sure,
plumbers and stuff, they can get a lot done.
yeah.
Yeah, so
But-
there's no capital outlay. They're doing everything within their budget.
Yeah.
From the districts.
But the town, so the town has invested more in New Bedford Voc than it has in, Dartmouth Public Schools
So-
in recent times in terms of improving the facilities.
Dartmouth is about 14.7% of their full student body. Fairhaven, 7.7, and New Bedford is 77.6.
Yeah.
And what was New Bedford's assessment?
Yeah.
Are you ready for that?
Oh,
New Bedford's assessment is $6,419,230. Our assessment
That's
is
I was thinking
more than us.
$6 million.
Wild.
That is
400,
crazy.
so we pay $18,000 less than New Bedford.
And they have what,
And
quadruple?
we send, yeah, they send 4 times or more, 5 times.
And this is
Number
just
of
a state
students.
formula.
It's been asked of the legislature multiple times, not only for folk, but for all the regional schools, to rejigger that formula. It's been asked multiple times, believe me, and there's been no traction to try to get it rejiggered.
Yeah,
To the
it's
community,
incredibly
ability to pay.
expensive for us to send students to
Yeah.
Folk. It's a good, yeah, it's good, it's a great program, but it is incredibly, I mean, you see what it costs us
Yeah.
for 319 kids and based on the state formula. And they get significant state aid too, you know, that's
Oh, yes,
just
they
the
do.
money that is coming from the municipalities.
And the formula hasn't been changed since 1980,
Wow.
so.
Yeah,
shows you.
I wasn't, I was aware of this number and close to it, but I was not aware of the New Bedford participation in that budget.
And they have 1,678 students.
Wow.
The same thing if you took Diamond, Westport and Fall River. Westport pays more of an assessment than Fall River does. Fall River sends 4 times the students. But because of the ability to pay in Westport is higher,
Yeah.
you're charged more.
Because you can, well,
That's the formula throughout the state.
Right.
Wow, okay. Let's go, Bristol Aggie, 210.
It's been pretty,
It's been pretty static.
steady, yeah.
Membership dues, information tech is, information tech, I mean, things are changing quite a bit with AI. You know, as long as we're keeping an eye on what the software is doing, you know, making upgrades when we can. You know, I had an experience with a board that had a one-time grant that wanted to use it for payroll. And, you know, professional people on this board, and they didn't understand the concept that it was a one-time payment. My suggestion was to use it for information technology, change the PCs out, get another 8 to 10 years out of those machines versus, you know, a bill that just never goes away. So, you know, those investments have to be made. 577, what does that look like? Is that a big number for you guys? Is that pretty static?
You know, we're increasing about 5% annually with most of our contracts, IT contracts. I mean, we shop around when we can,
Yeah.
but we're limited, you know, like Munis is our financial software.
Yeah, we're
We
heavily,
can't
heavily
change
invested in.
financial- Yeah, we
we're-
can't just switch around
And
financial softwares.
we've been accustomed since 1980 with Munis.
Yeah.
So we're heavily invested in them. They, you know, to the AI point, at the MMA conference, they're starting to, I talked to our rep, they're starting to use a lot of AI into this
Yeah.
to try to cut down costs. But every time we put a platform in for software, it does, you know, it costs money. You know, we have the dual authentication on our systems. A lot of
Which
it's a lot of it's security now.
we need a lot of that
A lot of it's
security.
security, because if it ever goes the other way, the risk is a
It'll
lot
be
more.
millions.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look at the city of New Bedford, the ransomware attack that they had.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Wow, interesting. Okay. Veterans benefits, there was a
Yeah.
tick up on the veterans benefits in the last couple of years, right? We made some changes to that, I think.
Some of this is reimbursed by the state.
Yeah.
It all depends on how many veterans that he's servicing.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, we did change things at town meeting. We gave the double, whatever the state had, we
The
piggyback
exemptions.
off the state for the exemption. So
That
that,
would be in here, the exemption, right?
oh, that's.
That'd be on the overlay.
On the overlay.
These are just the chapter benefits that Matt pays out. The exemption, I think, will come out of the overlay.
Oh, right, yeah, the exemption does come out of the overlay, you're correct, Cody. This is the piece that the town's
The town's
responsible for.
responsibility. Yeah. Yeah, so there's
This
no
went out
reimbursement
because
coming out.
he found veterans that hadn't.
I don't know what the head count of the veterans right now is in town.
No, he-
It's one of those things that
yeah.
Fluctuates,
Yeah.
and it,
And then there was spousal veteran benefits that also went up.
but it varies. In '23, it was 453,000. '24 actual was 373. We've remained constant at 585 for '25 and '26.
And utility costs, I mean, what can you say about the utility costs?
We do shop around. I mean, we have
Yeah.
contracts and we get it substantially cheaper than a lot of people because we buy so much electricity and natural gas. You saw probably 2 years ago, our gas contracts were up. Coming to Kathy, yeah. We had one of the lowest natural gas rates in the state, and we locked in just the right time with, Greg Barnes did an excellent job with that. And so we saw a huge uptick about 2 years ago because the natural gas market just, as we know, exploded. And we had to redo all of our contracts, they were up. And same with electricity. I mean, our electricity rate is lower than, like the Eversource market rate, but, it's still significant.
What about solar? How do the solar
Net metering?
farms that we've permitted and allowed in the town come back to help that number?
Well, generally they don't. If we have net metering agreements with several companies, and we're at about 90% of all of our electricity usage. The last thing you want to do is oversubscribe. So Westport, for instance, oversubscribed. They no offense, they purchased. They went into too many agreements with these solar companies, and they actually are getting more credits than they use in electricity. And they don't get any money for them. So now their accounts just have credits.
There's nothing really
And
to
they
do.
have to pay for them. You have a contract where they have to buy these credits, but they're not using that much electricity. So we have a policy where we don't want to go above 90% of our usage.
Okay.
Because efficiency, you may decrease electricity. The last thing we want is to have more credits than
Yeah.
usage.
So we actually get a check.
So we get a check, and that's why you'll see in the budget net metering credits, where it's actually, we're buying the credits, but the benefit to us is substantially more.
Right.
So we buy them for like 80 cents on the dollar.
Yeah, that is, I mean, from my perspective, the first time I had seen that, it's pretty confusing, how that whole.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
how that
budget the
whole thing-
expense and then you get the
expend it,
credits.
And then it comes back on the
Yeah.
backside.
And
so.
only some departments have it and some departments don't. And you're going through town meeting, that becomes,
And I-
why did they get it and not this one?
Yeah, and I think through our energy manager Kathy Stanley, that all these buildings have been retrofitted with as much high efficiency fixtures and everything else that we can at this point. I mean, I can't speak on behalf of the schools, but I know that.
Yeah, I mean,
worked with you.
Kathy's done a ton with those. Kathy's fantastic, by the way. But we still have a lot, we still have a lot to do. Like when we were over at the high school on the 15th, I don't know if you noticed, but like all the lighting fixtures in the hallways at the high school have been replaced with high efficiency lighting, but none of the classrooms have. So there's still a lot to do, but the rebates on lighting, the utility rebates and funding are going away, so. Yeah.
All right, so I didn't want to take up too much more of the time, Jim. I wanted to get to the second bullet point here, the review of the 27 school requests also. If you were able to run down those for us.
Well, actually, so, in talking to our school committee folks on on this committee, so we have yet to present our draft budget request
Okay.
to the school committee. So,
Oh, okay, all right, yeah.
the school committee is responsible for, for the operating budget of the school department. And so I think it's important that we have that discussion with the school committee, because at this point, all we have is some recommendations of the superintendent and I, and through our process, collaborating with the schools and the stakeholders, we do have some draft proposals, but I think it's a little premature to dig deep into that without having the school committee have had an opportunity to at least see those recommendations and then review them and have some discussion on them, so.
Okay.
To Jim's point, the budget subcommittee has had an opportunity to review those, but it has not gone, no one, and the full school committee has not seen these.
Hasn't seen it yet.
proposals yet.
Okay, all right, that's fine. When do you anticipate that happening?
February 9th.
Gary, do you have that, the budget calendar that you?
Yeah.
I don't know if you can throw it up there, or, just so the general public knows exactly what the timelines look like, because we kind of covered it last time, but it was quick.
So, I can just review, we're at the, we're all intents and purposes, we're now gonna be in February pretty soon, so.
Yep.
The CIPC have scheduled the meetings for police, schools, DPW, so those will happen, in February. And then, in March, just at the beginning of March, we'll be talking to all the smaller departments that have requested capital. Those will all be done in one meeting. And then, Finance Committee will meet also in February on the Thursdays at 5 o'clock to go over DPW's budget, police, and then schools when that's available from Jim. So we're on track with the timeline. As I mentioned before, we're almost a month. We did all this a month later this year, but I think it helps out with this group to have as much information quicker than in the past. So, and then we'll go through the warrant articles that we'll have those at the Finance Committee. And as you can see, those budgets I have them here for March, but we'll probably get some of those done, as I mentioned, in February. And so, which gives us time to put the Finance Committee's letter together, so on and so forth. So we're on track with the schedule.
All right, and the capital improvement in the past was not videotaped, it's gonna be
It will be,
videotaped.
yes.
This time, so people understand where the priorities are coming in from each board and
Right.
in committee, okay.
And Gary, as part of the process, you'll be tracking with each department personnel needs.
We've done that with the,
And,
with the one-on-ones that I had.
Yes.
With the departments. Typically, you'll see that, if they come in, obviously, the police, DPW and schools are only 3 of those departments. We've seen, where, we talked about a business manager
Yeah.
at DPW. We've talked about some of, the departments here.
And the
potentially
assessor was
having needs.
mentioning something last
Yes.
night in her
I would say overall,
presentation.
we haven't seen a lot of need for additional personnel. If you remember last year, we made some adjustments to that.
Yeah.
With the highway, DPW, doing some things with their HMEOs, SMEO laborers, giving them a little bit more money so we could do the hiring. So I think in combination with Sue, our HR director, we were able to do some of that. So I wouldn't say that there's a significant need for staff for the FY '27 budget, but we are, Cody and I are monitoring that.
Okay, and so who do we want to have in? I mean, we could have anybody in to talk about, what I'd like to see is any of the committees that come before you for their capital requests. That'll be, I don't want to duplicate a lot of things either. I don't need a meeting just for a meeting.
Right,
you
no,
know?
we should be able to watch it or attend it. But one department, I thought it was really helpful to go to the school department and see the physical plant issues at both of those buildings. I think our group needs a tour of DPW. Having been on a tour myself, when we're talking about capital needs, is to go on a tour of DPW.
Yeah,
We can schedule something.
I know right now, like today would not be a good day because they're still out there doing stuff. And then sadly, I heard last night we got another storm coming. I mean, I'm done. I'm ready for spring. So I don't know why this is necessary. But I think that would be helpful. I know when I toured, it gave me a whole new fear.
Yeah. I mean, can I make a
Yeah.
suggestion that maybe we skip next meeting and we regroup maybe the week after that? And the only reason I'm saying is that because we'll have more data from CIPC. Well, we would already have met with CIPC in some of those groups. And so that we can report back on some of their capital needs. You're right. I mean, I don't think we wouldn't want to have all the departments back because we have them in
No,
the
it'd be
finance committee
duplicating
level.
everything, yeah.
So I think that it'll give us a little bit more time to get more data. Maybe Jim will also have a little bit more for the schools. So I mean, that's only my suggestion that we maybe skip
I
next
don't have a
week's.
problem with that because.
What I'm gonna say then, instead of skipping it, because that's February 10th, could we make that the day, we have no idea what the weather will hold, but could we make that the day that is just a tour day? We tour DPW that day,
We'll check with DPW.
check with
Yeah.
DPW.
You also remember too that those sites are not all in one building. So you're going to multiple buildings. Have you probably been on the tour?
Yes.
You're in admin. You're in treatment. You're in.
Yeah,
so
you're gonna need
some of it would be outside.
3 hours.
I'm
or
gonna
so.
tell you, once we go to treatment, we're not gonna wanna go anywhere else. Treatment, I independently have gone to the others, but treatment is the one that is where we're, you know.
Eye-opening.
Yeah.
Yeah, it stands out, yeah.
It's, I mean, the other thing is, I mean, that would be, I think when we're talking about where is our money going and what has to do is seeing the well projects. That's not, I mean, that is so far out of my realm of understanding. It's really walking that DPW building and seeing the condition of the equipment. The building was, and it was equipped in 1973. And the
noise,
Band-Aids
level of-
that.
Yeah, the noise and everything else.
The noise, yeah, and the Band-Aids that they've put on the facility to keep it going.
Yeah, and a lot of the
I think
equipment, I've been on
that's-
the tour a couple times, a lot of the equipment that they speak about is no longer being produced. So,
And they have
you know,
some-
at what point do they not make that type of generator anymore, or that type of pump anymore, so it's.
Right,
these
and
are
some
things
are
that-
a single vendor source, which means
Like the
there's no
lights.
competition. Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
And you're fighting with everybody else who has a sewer treatment plant from the 70s for those lights.
Yeah, and I had a chance to talk with Congressman Keating about, you know, well, he actually approached me and said, what do you need? I said, well, we need infrastructure, we need some money. He said,
Yeah.
Join the club. Everybody needs, you know, public infrastructure. Everybody's looking for, you know, upgrades to the sewer and water treatment plants, and, you know, I said, well, show me where the line is and we'll get in line, because at some point, it's gonna be too late. We've got to get on it. We've got a new communications director
Yeah.
that unfortunately, we weren't able to get on our school tour. I think that would have been great. I don't know if, I don't know how this committee feels about maybe sending somebody out to hit the highlights of that meeting, even without us there, just in order to maybe put something together about what the town is up to when it comes to capital improvements. You know, it's one thing to listen to a meeting and hear, well, this is, you know, we need, when Tim does his thing on the plant and the water treatment center up on Old Westport Road.
Picture says 1,000.
Seeing is
right?
believing.
Yeah.
Right, so I do think that as we go forth and with long-term capital, I think it would be wise for them to have some pictures or video footage to show what am I actually talking about.
Yeah.
You know, when I say something needs to be, what is it? 'Cause
You know what,
in-
and maybe
seeing
it's
is
not,
believing.
maybe it's not on this committee, which I'm fine with, but, you know, maybe it's long-term capital that they get together with communications to try and maybe follow us around if we do, you know, the plant tour, you know?
camera,
Take an hour or so and take some video, and people, you know, they need to understand what we're looking at and what the costs are going forward. So to be able to kind of fall back on some more education would be important, I think. It makes our lift a little bit easier when we ask people for some help when it comes to the budgets and capital improvements. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, we're meeting here on the 10th.
All right, so you're saying use that as the, you know, if we could put together a tour on the 10th, as opposed?
February.
Yeah, I'll let everyone know. I've reached out to Tim Barber.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll see if that would work.
All right, yeah.
And then our
If
next
we
scheduled
skip that
will be the
meeting and
24th.
then the 24th, but if we can at least take some time. I mean, I've been down to the highway department, that's the one on Allen Street. I don't think there's anything, other than the facility is,
Highway,
No,
that's
Allen
water and
Street
sewer.
is, yeah.
Water and sewer.
You have water and sewer, and then you have Parks and Rec.
Yeah, highway is
Parks.
further down on,
Allen Street, across from the cemetery.
that's highway. No, that's water and sewer.
Water and
That's
sewer.
water.
But it's just, it's just a building.
there's nothing much
There's
to
nothing
see there.
exciting
No.
to see there. I mean, I've been. The one on DPW, I mean, over here, near the country club, near Allendale,
Yep, that's
That one.
Parks.
That's Parks.
Parks. I mean, it's just really,
Yeah, I mean, they're
Parking.
undergoing, we have a major project there, construction of that garage, town meeting approved those funds. But I mean, I think that's independent DPW. You have the highway facility on Russell's Mills Road, is at
Near
the
the
end of
transfer
Chase,
station.
yeah, at the end of Chase Road. I mean, that's a newer facility, at least the back portion. I don't, there's really nothing,
I can't
there's no large
unsee
capital needs
the
there.
water, the sewer treatment plant. I mean, that's,
I think the treatment plant, the admin building, and then maybe one of the well sites where, like where the 4 logs getting put in.
Westmont Road.
Yeah.
Old
Yeah,
Westmont.
I'd like to see that myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That should- Maybe
That's-
it'll be online by the time we get there.
It should be.
Knock on
It
wood.
better be.
Well,
Yeah.
But that's a considerable investment up there that we're making to get those wells back on, that people just got their water bills increased because they are not working. So
Right.
it's important for them to see exactly what needs to be done in order to keep those systems flowing.
so if we can, at least it won't be one more thing. We already have that date held on our calendars.
Right, sure.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
he could. The other thing, when up at MMA, we're talking about industry standards. So industry standard right now is 200,000 to 300,000 per mile to do a road, to rebuild a road. So when we're at capital improvement, giving the town, the DPW, $1 million every year, that's 5 miles of road. We have, I think it's 280 miles of road in Dartmouth.
Yeah, one of the
By
largest.
the- I mean,
In capital, we talked about what the total cost would be. It's well above 10 million.
we'd have to do
It's
10
millions.
million a year.
Yeah.
To
Yeah,
essentially keep up with our roads the way that, like you should. It would be over $10 million a year we would have to invest, just our money.
right. So, but I think that's important to share, because as we're driving over these bumpy roads, which will only get worse after this winter, and they've had to be plowed, that's what it costs to repair. Now, I'm saying 200 to 300,000, as I said, industry standard. That's without many problems. If you hit something and there's a problem,
Or you have sidewalks, depending on the
right.
curving that you go with.
I mean, it adds up, but I'm talking just, I was in, 200,000 to $300,000 per mile.
The cost of asphalt has increased.
Over 100%, yeah, 200%.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
so, but I think it's important to get, when we're talking, so people understand, and we think we're doing good by putting $1 million aside,
I mean, now that, I think that we're broadcasting those meetings, there'll be a greater sense now, the public will hear that. It'll be more accessible now.
Yeah, and just, last thing for me anyway, is just an update on some revenue issues going forward. Last night's select board meeting, we had the assessors in. They talked about the reevaluation that's gonna start next year, and a full reevaluation for all property in the town, personal property and commercial industrial. One of the approaches that they have for assessing on the commercial side is called an I&E, or an income and expense sheet. It's basically a 1 or 2 pager that goes out to a commercial property owner to record what their income and expenses are on that particular building, to try and help in the assessment of the valuation for that property. And I think we're getting, out of 450 being sent, I think we're not getting about a third of them back, which is not helpful to trying to formulate and install a budget in a town the size of Dartmouth. So we had gone back to the assessing department and asked them, what kind of teeth can you put into this process? And they checked with legal, they checked with Cody and Gary, and there are penalties that can be assessed on those commercial property owners, that when that information does not come back, we can do a reminder, but we can also send out a fine. And I hate to fine. I hate the fact that we need to fine. However, there's a question of fairness when it comes to other property owners on the commercial side that do report and do their best to be as fair as possible with their numbers. So we just want fair and balanced. We need to make sure that as much of that data is coming back, it's as accurate as it can be, and we're assessing the commercial properties as well as we can and as fairly as we can. and we're gonna adhere to some of these penalties, and we're gonna probably bring the names of those commercial accounts before the select board at some point if we cannot get them on board with the reporting properly. It's a question of fairness, not only the commercial side, but it's a question of fairness on the residential side too, because everything's tied together. So we need to make sure everybody's kind of rowing in the same direction. And then the assessment on the personal side, they're considering the use of drones to get these assessments done properly. Next year is a full, like I said, assessment. So hopefully those numbers are brought back and kind of leveled out throughout all the homeowners in town to make sure that everybody's paying their fair share. Being able to spread the tax over a larger bandwidth is always helpful because it has a lesser impact on each individual. So that's really the goal. That's one of my goals, is to try and make it fair. And then, I don't know if you guys have anything on the revenue side, any new changes?
Are you looking for additional ideas on topics for
Absolutely,
future?
yeah.
'Cause I made a list.
Oh, good.
And some of these cross over to what the Finance Committee has asked for in the past, but, we have a much different group here. I think we should be looking at shared services and efficiency opportunities. And, the Finance Committee has talked about this, sort of cross-department or regional services, things that affect everybody, schools, plus the town, plus all the departments. I mean, there's got to be a way to bring that together. And one of the examples that I'll use, which was great, is the human resource person. That was a good decision, to sort of bring the schools into the mix and not have it be separate people. So,
The challenge has been, we don't really have the human capital to, so our HR director has been great in, if Jim or Dr. Sam McGuire have a question, can't reach, legal or need some assistance, they're there. But the reality is we've actually found we don't have the human capital
so
to
maybe not a
provide.
good example, but we may have other opportunities.
But, right.
Yeah,
but-
well, you can augment it,
The
right? Maybe
good
able
thing
to
about
expand on
it is, now that we have a new HR person, and when we see what she is able to accomplish, we found out there was more on our side that needed to happen, that wasn't happening.
Okay.
That she's been, so it's been good, but now we see, but that still is a very good one, because we've talked internally about how can we still support them? Do we need someone else, or
Right.
what do we need?
So another one is looking at, and this is, just to preface it, look at housing apartments in the 40B development, but not from a land use or from a policy debate. We've all heard plenty of that in the meetings. But look at it from a fiscal impact planning, infrastructure and service demands. What is Dartmouth's share or fiscal responsibility when it comes to those developments? How will that impact us as a town from a financial standpoint? Third is looking at public-facing budget communications. I was looking at what sort of our charter was for this group, so that's how I came up with some of these. We have to have simplified budget summaries for the average citizen out there. What drives your tax bill kind of explanations. I'll give an example, because I watched the select board meeting last night, and it was a good presentation on assessment, but probably not for the average citizen.
Yeah.
Just saying. It was a lot of information that could have been, depending on who you wanted your audience to be and who you were educating, that's just an example of it needed to be a little bit simpler, I think. I mean, there was a couple of slides that definitely sort of drove the point home, but I think it was too much.
Janine, on that, what stops us from having Jessica bring that down to less slides?
Nothing.
And more, a more macro.
And you had said last night, Chris, that, to get this out to the general public, and then Cody had suggested that Jessica, Jessica Communications.
Communications,
Work
right.
with Jessica
That's what they'll do.
assessors
They'll
to-
break it down a little bit
to
more.
break it down and get some clear slides, so that would be
Yeah,
helpful.
we have a tendency in the Finance Committee, when we write our letters, we've done it in the past with the letters, just like, hello, really. The average citizens, they're going to open the envelope and go, you know.
Too many words.
Yeah, too many words, exactly. So we tend, and this is not offensive to anyone, but we always say, dumb it down.
Yeah, yeah.
Make it simpler. Make it
Yeah.
so a non-finance person or that's somebody, that's not their background, that they can understand it. And the last one, and we talked about this a little bit, but a little bit more on long-term liabilities, you know, because I think it's important for the town people to understand our debt affordability. You know, so, and you brought up some of the questions already, you know, what are we paying now? What's the terms of them? That sort of thing. So people understand why we might look at those in the near future.
Yeah, yeah, I keep going back to every household. Every household goes through certain numbers of things. Number one is debt. You know, some people will bring it on haphazardly, others are debt adverse. But usually, everybody knows what the balance on their mortgage is, what it's costing them a month, and when it's gonna end, when the pain is gonna stop. So, so I think, you know, for the general public who's paying that mortgage bill for the town, for them to know the exact same thing about their town is an important thing. Yeah, thank you.
So that's the end of my list.
Do you want to send that to Gary and I, so we can make sure we include it?
Absolutely.
In future agendas?
The list might grow, so warning.
Regionalization, Janine, I think is a really important thing. I remember driving by the City of New Bedford Town Hall, and I saw, it was a office supply truck. It was like from Brockton, I think it was. And I just drove by and went, we can't spend that money locally? I knew at the time, I think Pencils was still in business on Mount Pleasant Street. You know, two local guys, happened to be Dartmouth guys, I think, one of them was anyway, that we could have probably spent that money on. They could have been competitive against the Brockton company. I know that we have, you know, state mandates on how we bid things out, but you know, in the same vein, we need to try and find ways to take care of local business, and also, you know, drive some kind of regionalization and drive costs down. Everybody is talking about what it's gonna cost, how much more it's gonna cost us next year and then the next 2 years. We have to continue to try and keep as much pressure as we can on what we're paying right now and try and find at least some way to knock down some of these costs, if at all possible. Because that's what they do in their, you know, in a residence, in what the taxpayers are doing at home. You know, we need to at least let them know that we're doing the same thing here. So thank you for that. That's about it for me.
The only thing I'll add is governor's budget came out, and it is not great for Dartmouth. We had anticipated, you know, consensus revenue for '27 was a 2.9% increase. So you hope for around that, right, from the governor's budget. Dartmouth, she announced the average was 4.4, Dartmouth is 1.7.
And a couple of other meetings that we had attended, they attended also was the meeting with the DOR, Division of Local Services. So unfortunately, the state's spending at like 4%, and the revenues are coming in at 2.9. So they have a lot of time between now and the end of the fiscal year to try to rejigger those numbers, and a lot of that revenue starts to come in around when you get motor vehicle excise tax, income tax reported. So hopefully that trend straightens out, because if it doesn't, by the end of June, then the state will have a structural deficit. So that's something that they have to determine how they're gonna address. So we're watching all this, because obviously that filters down to the local level.
Yeah. I remember Gary and I sat in on a department meeting. I don't know if I said this last time or not, but I think it was pretty funny. Not funny, haha. But to sit down, and I was waiting to the end, and then Gary said, "Do you have anything?" I said, "Well, yeah, what's the nuclear option?" And some people turned around and said, well, "Who is this nutcase here? What's he talking about?" And basically, when the feds slash Mass, and Mass slashes us, what do? You know, do we have the departments in the back of their minds saying, if the worst-case scenario happens? When I started to see the governor come down and say, okay, well, you know what, we're going to let them change their excise tax, let them charge more for hotel rooms, let them charge a little more for meals, that was a red flag for me personally, saying, okay, she might be losing control of this thing and trying to find ways for us to take care of ourselves. We need to make sure, in my opinion, we need to make sure that department heads have a nuclear option, that they say, okay, we're slashed by 10 points. How am I gonna get through the day? How am I gonna continue services? Because over time, it creeps in, and the budgets, they move a little bit, and they tick up, and, you spend a little here and you spend a little there. But you have to continually go back and look at, okay, in the worst-case scenario, what happens if? And I think, unfortunately, we're gonna feel that. We're gonna feel that coming forward. I think she's out of money. And we'll see in June and July, but I don't think it's gonna be great. So, kind of not a warning to the department heads, but, additional pressure, I'd say yes. Have something in the back of your mind. How, are we using the software properly? Are we able to go to, to contractors versus inside? All those things really have to be on the table.
Yeah, I think to the point, a lot of those communities that are not as conservative as probably Dartmouth is, are not gonna be able to weather that storm, because if they're budgeting every penny and spending every penny, then that's where that delta of the 1% that the state's gonna now push back on the communities is really gonna impact those communities.
Yeah, you have to have a little bit of a cushion. Yeah, again, just like every resident in this town, they have to have a little cushion in case something happens. So that's kind of sitting out there too.
You have minutes, Chris? Minutes that was
We have,
circulated.
yeah, I think we do, right? Last meeting.
that came in
So
a
we need
separate email.
We need an
Yes.
approval of the minute meetings of, what day was that, Gary?
113.
Of 1:13.
Oh, she got 2026.
We did have them emailed to us, and we did have a chance to take.
We're gonna change that to 20, we just noticed it says 26 on it. We'll have that changed.
Oops. Motion
Been
to
around that
amend.
long.
Motion to amend and motion to accept. We can do the same thing, can't we?
Yeah.
All right. Motion's
So
made.
made.
Second? And seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. You've got your minutes. That's about it for me. Anybody else need to add anything? If not, we'll move on. We're gonna try and put that thing together for the 10th, and then we'll have some more information. Gives Jim some time to get some additional information from the schools, and we trudge on. All right, thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn,
Second.
Motion
All in
adjourned,
favor.
second, all in favor?
yes.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay, good, thanks.